Las Vegas just posted its worst tourism numbers in over 20 years. And no, it wasn't a pandemic. It wasn't a recession. It wasn't a natural disaster. In 2025, visitor numbers fell nearly 8%, dropping back to levels not seen since 2002. But here's what nobody is saying. This isn't just about tourism. It's already changing prices, cutting staff, and draining energy from the Strip. Because the headlines blame one or two causes. The real collapse runs deeper, and it's been building for years. Number 10. The visitors didn't vanish. They changed shape. Look at the headline number and it still sounds massive. 38.5 million people visited Las Vegas last year. That is not a ghost town. But here is what the number hides. The way people show up has completely changed. Instead of thick, overlapping waves of tourists flooding the Strip on any given weekend, arrivals are now spread thin across the entire week. Mid-week, occupancy dropped to around 75% last year, while weekends held closer to 88%. That gap tells the whole story. Walk the Strip on a Tuesday night and you will feel it. Restaurants half full. Casino floors with open seats everywhere. Sidewalks you can actually walk without bumping shoulders. On paper, the city still has visitors. In practice, the energy that made Vegas feel electric has been diluted. And energy is the product. Nobody flies across the country to walk through a quiet casino. People come to Vegas to feel the buzz of a crowd, the hum of something happening everywhere you look. When that hum fades, so does the reason to come. Density was always the secret ingredient. Without it, Vegas just feels like a really expensive small town with good lighting. And once that density breaks, something else collapses right behind it. Number 9, group travel quietly collapsed. There is a type of visitor that used to fill entire hotel towers in a single weekend. Convention groups, bachelor parties arriving 20 deep, corporate retreats where companies booked hundreds of rooms, tour buses rolling in from California loaded with retirees ready to spend. These group travelers were the backbone of midweek business, and they are vanishing. Convention attendance in 2025 came in at 6 million, still 10% below the 2019 record. But the bigger problem is not the conventions that showed up. It is the ones that never came back. Companies learned during the pandemic that virtual events cost a fraction of the price. Corporate travel budgets were slashed and never restored. The bachelor party crews that once booked 3 suites are now splitting an Airbnb in Scottsdale instead. What makes group travel so devastating to lose is the multiplier effect. One convention attendee does not just rent a room. They eat, drink, gamble, buy show tickets, and tip bartenders. Losing one group of 500 means losing thousands of individual transactions that ripple through every business on the Strip. No amount of solo tourists can replace that concentrated spending power. But if groups are drying up, the next shift explains why even casual solo travelers have stopped showing up on a whim. Number 8. Vegas lost its impulse trip status. There was a time, and it was not that long ago, when booking a Vegas trip took less thought than picking a restaurant. You would see a cheap flight pop up for $89 round trip, text your buddy, and be on the Strip by Friday night. No itinerary, no spreadsheet, no second thoughts. That spontaneity was Vegas's superpower, but that version of Vegas has been priced out of existence. When average hotel rates have climbed over 50% since before the pandemic, when resort fees add another $40 to $55 a night, and when a casual dinner on the Strip runs north of $100 for 2 people, you cannot just wing it anymore. Trips require planning, budgeting, justification. And when spontaneity dies, a certain type of traveler disappears entirely. These were not the high rollers. They were the volume visitors. The ones who came 4 or 5 times a year because Vegas felt easy and accessible. Now those same people run the numbers, hesitate, and end up doing something else. They drive to a closer destination, They stay home. They tell themselves they will go next month, and next month never comes. The pipeline of casual visitors that kept Vegas humming has quietly dried up, and once people break the habit of coming, getting them back is 10 times harder than keeping them. But even if someone still wants to come, Vegas is now making it harder just to arrive. Number 7. Airlines stopped feeding the Strip like they used to. Getting to Las Vegas used to be one of the easiest things in American travel. Dozens of airlines running cheap direct flights from practically everywhere. Budget carriers like Spirit built their entire identity around $79 flights to Vegas. It was the pipeline that kept the city fed with fresh visitors week after week. That pipeline is breaking. In 2025, available airline seats into Las Vegas fell 3.5%, but the real damage came from the budget carriers. Spirit Airlines, once the second busiest airline at Harry Reid International Airport, slashed 54% of its Las Vegas flights after filing for bankruptcy a second time. That is more than 3,000 flights gone in a single quarter. Avelo Airlines pulled out entirely. Canadian carriers cut routes dramatically as visits from Canada dropped over 20%. When budget airlines disappear, they do not just take seats with them. They take the entire demographic of price-sensitive travelers who would not have come any other way. Bigger airlines like United stepped in to fill some gaps, but their fares run significantly higher. A flight that cost $79 on Spirit now costs $200 on United. For a weekend trip, that price jump alone can be the difference between booking and staying home. Every seat that disappears from the Las Vegas market is roughly $1,000 in local spending that never arrives. The math is brutal. But even among those who do make it to Vegas, who they are is shifting in ways that spell long-term trouble. Number 6. The average tourist got older. This one does not make headlines, but it might matter more than anything else on this list. The demographic profile of the Las Vegas visitor is shifting, and not in the direction the city needs. Younger travelers, the ones who historically drove nightlife spending, impulse gambling, and social media buzz, are pulling back. Gen Z has been identified as the most price-sensitive age bracket visiting Vegas, burdened by student debt and facing financial pressures that make a $500 weekend feel irresponsible. Industry insiders have noticed that younger visitors who do show up are drinking significantly less, down from 3 or 4 drinks a night to just 1 or 2. That is not just a lifestyle trend. It is a revenue collapse for bars, clubs, and poolside bottle service. Meanwhile, Vegas increasingly relies on older repeat visitors who already know the city, travel less frequently, and stay for shorter periods. The average length of stay has already dipped to around 3.3 nights. Older visitors tend to spend more per visit, but they come less often, and they are not growing the pie. They are just recycling the same slice. And here's the deeper concern. If younger generations never build the Vegas habit, if they never associate the city with the kind of unforgettable weekend that turns into a lifelong tradition, then the customer base shrinks permanently. Vegas is not just losing visitors today. It risks losing an entire generation of future ones. And even among those who do visit, the way they spend, their money has changed in a way that is quietly hollowing out the Strip from the inside. Number 5. Visitors now spend before they arrive. Something fundamental has shifted in how people experience Las Vegas, and most of the spending has moved off property before the visitor even lands. Show tickets are purchased online weeks in advance. Restaurant reservations are locked in through apps. Club entry, pool passes, spa treatments are all booked and paid for before anyone steps foot on the Strip. This is a massive change from how Vegas used to work. The old model relied on discovery. You would wander through a casino, stumble into a show, grab dinner on impulse, and spend money you never planned to spend. That spontaneous, on-the-ground spending was where the real magic happened for the city's economy. Now visitors arrive with a fully loaded itinerary and a pre-allocated budget. There is nothing left over for the unplanned cocktail, the random show, or the impulse purchase. Hotels feel quieter because guests are not lingering. They are executing a schedule. The result is a strange paradox. Total visitor spending hit a record $55 billion in 2024. But that money is increasingly going to online platforms and third-party ticketing sites, not to the bartender or the small business owner on Fremont Street. The dollars are flowing, but they are bypassing the very ecosystem that made Vegas feel alive. When the streets feel empty despite the spending, the atmosphere suffers, and that shift is exactly what pushed Vegas into its next mistake. Number 4. The luxury pivot backfired. Somewhere in the last decade, Las Vegas made a strategic bet that would reshape the entire Strip. The city decided to go upscale, premium hotel suites, celebrity chef restaurants with $150 tasting menus, VIP bottle service as the default nightlife model. The logic seemed bulletproof. If you attract wealthier visitors, you make more money per guest, and you do not need as many of them. But that math has a fatal flaw. Luxury tourism is a tiny market. And when you chase it, you push away the massive middle-class audience that built your city in the first place. That is exactly what happened. Budget-conscious travelers started going elsewhere. They drove to tribal casinos. They flew to Reno. They discovered that other destinations offered better odds, cheaper drinks, and a warmer welcome. The data confirms it. The hotel occupancy decline is concentrated in lower-tier properties, the ones that once served value seekers. The top third of luxury hotels are still filling rooms in the 90s, but the bottom third is dragging the entire market down. Vegas essentially abandoned one customer to chase another, and now there are not enough luxury travelers to fill the gap. But the next trend is perhaps the most deceptive of all, because it makes the tourism stats look healthier than they really are. Number 3. Day trippers replaced overnight guests. Here is a statistic that should worry anyone paying attention. More and more people are visiting Las Vegas without ever checking into a hotel. They drive in from Southern California, Arizona, or Utah. They attend one event, eat one meal, maybe hit one casino, and leave. Same day, no hotel room, no second night of spending. The tourism numbers still count them, but hotel occupancy tells a completely different story. Overall occupancy averaged just over 80% last year, down more than 3 points from the previous year. Downtown Las Vegas could only fill 66% of its rooms in some months. Revenue per available room fell nearly 9%. That gap between visitor count and hotel occupancy is the clearest sign that the nature of the Las Vegas trip has fundamentally changed. A day visitor spends a fraction of what an overnight guest does. They do not gamble as long. They do not eat as many meals. They do not buy show tickets. They come, consume one thing, and leave. For a city whose entire economic model depends on keeping people on property for multiple days, this shift is devastating. The visitor number looks like a cushion. In reality, it is a mirage. And this is where Vegas stops feeling like a destination and starts feeling like a transaction. Number 2, the city became transactional. Ask anyone who visited Las Vegas in the 90s or early 2000s what made it special, and they will not talk about the rooms or the restaurants. They will talk about the feeling, the chaos, the unpredictability, the sense that anything could happen at any moment. That energy is what brought people back year after year. But walk the Strip today and something feels different. Not broken exactly, but engineered, calculated, cold. Check-in is an app. Your room key is on your phone. Restaurants require reservations booked weeks ahead. Attractions are timed entry only. Even the slot machines feel algorithmic, pulsing with precision, instead of personality. The human friction that used to make Vegas feel alive, the random conversation with a bartender, the dealer who told you a joke, the concierge who knew a secret spot, has been optimized away. Everything is faster, smoother, more efficient, and somehow less fun. This is not nostalgia talking, it is economics. When a city replaces spontaneity with scheduling, it removes the emotional reason people return. You do not fly across the country for efficiency. You can get that anywhere. You fly to Vegas to feel something you cannot feel at home. And when that feeling is gone, replaced by mobile check-in screens and QR code menus, the city loses its grip on the one thing no algorithm can replicate: the sense that tonight might be the night something unforgettable happens. That emotional shift is quietly draining repeat visits and turning first-timers into one-timers. But as powerful as that change is, the number one reason is even bigger. Because Vegas is not just fighting other cities anymore. Number one, Vegas is competing with the entire internet. This is the part nobody wants to say out loud. For decades, Las Vegas had a monopoly on stimulation. It was the one place in America where everything was louder, brighter, faster, and more excessive than anywhere else. If you wanted non-stop entertainment and the feeling of being plugged into something electric, you got on a plane and went to Vegas. There was no substitute. But now there is. It is in your pocket. Every phone offers instant entertainment, endless content, live streaming, social connection, and dopamine on demand. The slot machine that used to hook you for hours now competes with an algorithm designed by the smartest engineers on the planet to keep your eyes on a 6-inch screen. Online gambling has exploded. Sports betting apps let you place wagers from your couch. Social media delivers the thrill of social validation without the cost of a plane ticket. Streaming platforms serve up more entertainment in a single evening than an entire weekend in Vegas ever could. The city is not fighting Reno or Phoenix or Miami anymore. It is fighting TikTok, YouTube, DraftKings, and every digital platform that has figured out how to deliver stimulation without the friction of travel. That is a war Vegas cannot win on its old terms. The city was built for a world where you had to go somewhere to feel something extraordinary. We do not live in that world anymore. And until Las Vegas figures out how to offer something the internet simply cannot replicate, something physical, communal, and unrepeatable, the decline will continue. Not because Vegas is bad, but because the competition for human attention has never been this fierce.